It's a group called Jeff Goldblum, that's me, and the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra. Well, I can tell you this, the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra is a bunch of top-notch musicians. Let me name them if you don't know them. Alex Frank is on the If I Did This. What do you think he plays? The stand-up bass, that's right. Kenny Elliott is doing this. What's he playing? That's right, the drums. I am playing myself, keyboard player, and I sing a little bit on the album. And but Joe Bagg, we have another keyboard player named Joe Bagg. He's one of the, if not the best organ player in the world, but he plays keys. He's on this, he plays organ. Wait till you hear Joe Bagg. We've got John Story on the guitar. I was doing it wrong, and I don't play guitar. And then we've got two guys on the saxophone. That's right. And then we've got a guest artist on one going. What's he doing? Yeah, Gilbert Castellano is doing that. So the two saxophone players are, of course, Scott Gilman and James King. James King, maybe I should tell you, is also in a group called Fits and the Tantrums. You know that group? He's in that group. Mostly he's on the road. When we play live, mostly we go, is Jay? No, he's still on the road. So we get him sometimes. He's on the record. But anyway, so that's who you're hearing on this record. And listen to this. The album, the selections that you'll hear, it's jazz. It's that jazz music. Yeah, I like that jazz music. And the jazz music on this is, there's a few instrumentals on it. It's from the, roughly, it's a lot of it is from the 50s, 60s Blue Note era kind of thing, if you like, some of it. But anyway, there are a few, and I'll tell you which ones, there are a few instrumentals on it, but there's a bunch of people singing with us, guests who aren't usually in the Mildred Snitzer Orchestra, but they're guesting with us on this. I'll give you a few names. Gregory Porter. If you don't know Gregory Porter, I love him. I love Gregory Porter. I knew his music, and I went up to him at an airport a couple of years ago, and I said, excuse me, my name is Jeff. He said, oh, and I said, well, Gregory Porter, you are spectacular, and I know all your music, and da-da-da-da. Anyway, we did that, and then I was promoting that movie, Thor Ragnarok. So I'm doing that movie. So we were talking about Grandmaster in Thor Ragnarok because I was promoting that movie, and I was on a British TV show called The Graham Norton Show, and Gregory Porter, was on it. He was promoting he worked with Decca Records, and they were putting out this record, Nat King Cole record. If you know who that is, you should look up Nat King Cole, Natalie Cole's father, and he built, the success of his records, built the Capitol Records building. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Before we made our first record, which was live at the Capitol Records studios, and we did it at that building. Anyway, Nat King Cole, the success of his albums, and on our first album we did that song Straighten Up and Fly Right, Straighten Up, and that was one of the big hits of his. Anyway, so he was doing an album about Nat King Cole. He was singing a song on that show called Mona Lisa, Mona Lisa, men have named you. Do you know that song? You're so like the lady with the mystic smile, yeah, et cetera, et cetera. And he said, Jeff, will you play with me? Anyway, I played piano with him. Decca, Tom Lewis and Rebecca Allen from Decca, lovely people, brilliant people, saw it and said, hey, maybe Jeff plays piano. Maybe we should do an album with Jeff. And they came to Los Angeles. We talked about it. That's how we did the first album. Then that did pretty well. Then what? This is our second album. That's the story. I thought I'd tell you that. So Gregory Porter sings a song on this album. You know what he sings? You've heard it. Make someone happy. Make just someone happy. Yeah, it's a great song. Anyway, he sings that on that. Now I'll name the other singers on the album. Besides him, we got Fiona Apple. Let's have a moment of silent tribute for Fiona Apple. She's just wonderful. I'd met her once over the years, but then we had a wish list of, hey, who should sing these songs? How about Fiona Apple? We got in touch with her anyway. She was great. I won't tell you the whole story, but the first time I heard, she came over to my house. Joe Bagg was there, and we were trying to figure out the key. The first time she sang it, She sings Don't Worry About Me. Do you know that? Don't worry about me, I'll get along. It's an old jazz standard. The way she sings it, I started to play it at my house. She sang it. Yeah, I was crying. And then who else do we have on it? Nara George, and then Anna Calvi. Sharon Van Etten sings a beautiful song. And Miley Cyrus. How about that? Miley Cyrus. Yeah, I shouldn't be telling you this. Well, I like titles. I like the idea of titles, but I'm a confused sort of person. I couldn't come up with a title, but I made lists. I could show you on my phone. I think I still have in my notes all sorts of bad ideas and many ideas. And I talked to the band, and then I asked people. I don't know. I thought about that. Somebody I know many years ago, I think, suggested that as a possible title for a movie, saying it's a kind of a, nice, intriguing sounding title. And as it turned out, and then I saw it, we fell on that, and we kind of decided on that, and then it looked good in the yellow lettering on our album cover. By the way, the album cover, let's talk about that, and all the art in the album, but I should be, and then as I started to think about it, and the album started to, as we were doing it, it was a very organic so-called process, and the songs we were going to do and the singers we got kind of revealed themselves as we were kind of getting ready to finish it up. I shouldn't be telling you this became relevant in a way that I can't even tell you. In a way that I shouldn't be telling you, and I probably won't, and I can't. Let me see. Well, I'll give you a hint. It's just, I shouldn't be telling you, can mean, and came to mean, really mean, some of these lyrics are personal, intimate, private, in ways that you may not realize, and in ways that we shouldn't be telling you. But now you can imagine what they are and to whom they relate, maybe. And then even some of the instrumentals are so full of unexpurgated joy and emotion that it's probably indiscreet to share it publicly, except musically. So one might say, I shouldn't be telling you this, but here it is anyway. Yeah, that's all I'll tell you about that. And then the art on which I touched. Yeah, well, we're at Frank Sinatra's house. Did you know that was Frank Sinatra's house in Palm Springs? Yeah, how about that? So there used to be a singer named Frank Sinatra. He sang music, some of that jazz music. Look him up, you'll see. He's the father of Frank Sinatra Jr., who also sang, and he's also the father of Nancy Sinatra, who sang that song. You know what song she was made famous for? Oh, it was on the radio when I was in the 60s. These boots are made for walking. She sang that song. And then her sister, Tina Sinatra, was my first agent in Los Angeles when I moved from New York to Los Angeles. How about that? Tina Sinatra. Well, I had somebody on my team said, hey, maybe Palm Springs is the right vibe for you and this band and for what you're doing, this second album, for these songs. It sounds like these songs. Yeah, and then I think the Verve people said, hey, guess whose house is there? And we could shoot there for one day. Frank Sinatra. It was fantastic. There were pictures of Frank and Tina and Frank and all over one room. It was great. I mean, I don't believe in ghosts, or even, do you believe that after we leave the room, the vibrations that we're creating right now, and all this content vibrationally, there will be something left after we leave? Maybe is the word. I think maybe is all we know. I don't know. Anyway, I don't know if there's anything of Frank there, but just me, a guy like me, thinking to myself, gee, Frank was right here. He was right here. It was kind of fun, I must say. And what do we know of time, I mean, here we are now, but, time, as they say, does not necessarily run in the way that we conventionally think. We have this idea about it, but, time may all be happening at the same time and not really sequentially. And so Frank may have been there in some way in a warped loop of some kind. Well, Decca had a couple ideas. Tom Lewis, I think, is the one who said, "Hey, you know that song, The Cat?" "Yeah, we know that song." My band, I didn't know that song. Yeah, how about that? They said, "Yeah, good song, pretty good song. Let's try that. Hey, let's come up with an arrangement." And we did. It's on the album. It's like a boogaloo song. I love it. The Cat. So that he came up with that. What else did he come up with something else? I'll bet he might have. But anyway, there were some things that we picked. The band picked them. It was very kind of democratic and delightful. We got together at my house and you know, and we came up with songs. They had very particular. Some songs came up and they went. They had a very particular thing. The instrumentals, you know, and this and that. And then we got this kind of thematic thing going whereby we mashed up a few of these songs, where we took a Blue Note 60s, 70s, you know, kind of jazz standard, Lee Morgan's Sidewinder, for instance, and somebody went, "Hey, you know, that we should sort of combine that in a little," it's not a medley, it's a mashup, I don't know what it is, but anyway, those chords kind of fit exactly with The Beat Goes On, that Sonny Bono song, and they're unexpected, and they've never been put together, but let's do it, let's try it. Hey, here's an arrangement, and we did that with a few things. The Miley Cyrus song is "The Thrill Is Gone," that you've heard Chet Baker sing, "The thrill is gone, the thrill is gone," but she sings it, and we mash it up with a modern jazz quartet tune that John Lewis wrote called Django, the chords of which kind of do this nicely. There are a couple other things like that, you know. Anna Calvi sings, there's a Wes Montgomery song, 4 on 6, that mashes up nicely with a Marianne Faithfull song called Broken English, who she actually knows and has written a song with. So there were great things like that. So we had a theme like that. We kind of came up with a few of those. And that's how we did it. And then somebody said, "Hey, Jeff, maybe you should sing." I like to say, as you know already, I've pestered you with my singing already, "Such As It Is." And I said, "Really? I can sing as I like to sing. What would you sing?" "Well, what would I sing? And I said, "Hey, I have these couple of kids. I got a 4-year-old boy and a 2-year-old boy, 2 little boys that are so sweet. And sometimes when I'm putting them to bed, I sing them a lullaby." And they said, "What lullaby do you sing?" I said, "Well, little man, you're crying. I know why you're blue. Someone stole your kitty car away." They said, "Wait a minute, I know that song. Hey, let's look it up. Hey, guess who released that a million years ago? Decca Records. Wait a minute." Alex Frank said, "Here, before we leave, sing that into my phone. Let me see what key you're singing that in." I did. Based on that key and that recording, he came up with an arrangement, and sure enough, it got to be part of the album. We showed up at the Jim Henson Studios where we did it this time, unlike the first album where we did it live at Capitol Records. And we had 4 days where we just kind of hunkered down and kind of had this creative spurt, you know, outpouring. And we did it there. The Jim Henson Studios are on La Brea, if you know Los Angeles. La Brea, you ever go out there? La Brea, where are we? New York. We're in New York. I live in Los Angeles, so I pass it all the time, but I'd never gone in there. It used to be Herb Alpert's place, A&M Records, for a long time. Then before that, Charlie Chaplin's studio, supposedly, where he did many things. So it's an historic place. It was full of, speaking of ghosts and vibrations, it was a delightful place to work. Who knows if because of that, but you know. So here's what happened with Miley Cyrus. It's the first time I ever saw her. I think the first time I ever saw her live was when we were invited to the 40th anniversary of Saturday Night Live. Remember when that took place? It was kind of a televised thing, and a lot of luminaries from the past. You know, I was on that occasion. I found myself walking into the theater next to Keith Richards. And we spoke a little bit. Hey, what is that? Hey, he was actually on this side. He said, hey, kid, yeah. I said, where we talk? Come on, Keith Richards, you know. Anyway, there were a lot of people there. And Miley Cyrus sang a song. And I was like, wow, she is great. She was really stunning. It's very striking, very outstanding, very gifted, real voice, very musical, and just great. And then a year or two passed, and I was doing a movie and and socially ran into her on a couple of occasions. She was very nice and interesting and And then as we were talking about this album, we said, well, hey, these songs, these singers who aren't really jazz singers usually, who would be really good? She was, on our dreamy wish list. And, well, how would we go about getting in touch with a person like Miley Cyrus? I said, well, I ran into her a couple of times. We know each other a little bit. I said hello. And so he said, well, she's probably got big agents and this and that, and I don't know. Maybe Alex Frank, our bass player, said, I see that she's on Instagram, and anyway, there's a way to, I'd never done it before. I'm on Instagram myself, but not much, but I'd never contacted anybody. You can write somebody or write them a note or somebody. They tell me. Anyway, I did. That's the only one I did. I haven't done it since. We said, hey, this is Jeff. Hey, you want to do this? We're doing an album. And she wrote back right away. She said, yeah, hey, how are you? Hey, that sounds good. We sent her the song. She said, I love that song. And that's it. And then we started to kind of do videos back and forth a little bit, a couple times, and that were just delightful. I got them on my phone right now, still. And then finally, we couldn't arrange to be in the same place, so she had a recording studio and an engineer, fancy engineer, and we did our stuff in the studio and sent her the track and said, you just have to sing along with that. She did, and then she sent me a video, said, well, here it is. Listen to this. Here's a little bit. Here's the thing. We just did it. I think it's pretty good. And, sure enough, it was just great. And I love the track. Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe for more videos from your favorite artist. And while you're here, check out these other videos.